Good morning. This is Garrett. It is June 3rd, 2018, and I'm going to talk for 5 minutes today about what am I afraid of, and also how do we live with courage and not fear in our crazy world. And as with the last one, I reserve the right to not count the 5 minutes as having begun until I actually begin talking about the topic, and to be able to give a little bit of an introduction, and then also to be able to close the video. Looks like my last video, it was 5 minutes, and it was actually 7 minutes 40 seconds, 37 seconds. Okay. And that one I was talking about UFOs. Bobby Noe, he requested that topic. This one I'm going to talk about fear, per Charla Brammer, a friend of ours from Iowa. And I've got some notes to guide me. I'm typically a bit more long-winded. My normal speed is give me an hour and I'll fill it up. 5 minutes, I got to really try and condense it down, be judicious with what I'm going to actually say. My wife, she was laughing. She's very succinct. She's very good at just getting to the point and being direct. And she was saying she'd have to work a lot more to prepare to talk for an hour about something, but 5 minutes would be, that'd be cake. She wouldn't even have to prepare for that. Whereas I'm just the opposite. I wouldn't have to prepare to talk for an hour, but I'm gonna need to get ready to be able to do a 5 minute deal. So anyway, that's 2 minutes already. I'll just get right to it. I'm starting my timer on my work phone here, and surrounded by my children, looks like. Okay, so what am I afraid of? Boy howdy, that's a big question. First off, as far as physical fears, I'm afraid of heights. If I have any kind of phobia, it is acrophobia, the fear of heights. Even just going up 20, 30 feet on top of oil tanks, that has been an adjustment for me, a little bit outside my comfort zone. I did a little bit of work with a friend of mine, Buck DeBill, putting on roofs for buildings. He's a construction guy, and that made me squeamish. That took some getting used to. Not a big heights guy. Went mountain climbing, or tried to go mountain climbing here this past fall, and that was another thing that I really struggled with was heights. Had a little bit of an experience when I was a kid, falling down some stairs. I don't know if that's what it comes from. That's a story for another day, because it would take me the remainder of my time just to tell you it, and I have more I want to say. The second part of Charlotte's question: how do we live with courage and not fear in our crazy world? I think it behooves us as Christians to go to the Bible, and I think of Proverbs. I think of 3 Proverbs, actually. First one that I think of is Proverbs 29:25, which says, "The fear of man lays a snare, but whoever trusts in Yahweh is safe." One thing you'll notice, the Bible contrasts repeatedly and throughout the issue of the fear of other people and trusting in God. And it seems pretty consistently the villains all either are most afraid of other people and what they're going to think, and so they ignore what God says for that reason, or else their biggest goal is to get everybody around them to be afraid of them and to control them by making them afraid of them, and so then they're punishing whoever trusts in God more than fearing them, because their goals are at odds with God's goals. And so it's a theme throughout the scriptures, and the heroes of the faith, if you want to call them that, the people that God has relationship with from the Old Testament to the New Testament, all throughout, are the people that put fearing God and trusting Him ahead of fearing people and what they were going to say. We must obey God rather than man. And if you don't like it, then you can go fly a kite. It's a paraphrase, the Garrett translation. Another proverb, the fear of Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is insight. This makes sense when you consider that Yahweh is the creator of the heavens and the earth, rules over everything. He's supreme in power and knowledge, infinitely more powerful than whatever it is we could face that might frighten us. That can be really hard to grasp in a moment of intense fear where something is very tangible in front of us, it's confronting us, to remember that God is bigger than that. I don't mean to make it sound simple just by saying that, to have a pat answer or to shame or scold anybody. When I'm up at heights and I'm looking down and thinking about falling and breaking some bones in my body or dying or whatever, that is the more pressing fear at that moment. And trusting in God, it might not be at odds with getting down from those heights, but in any event, fear of Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom. God is infinitely more powerful than even a fall from heights. One last proverb. Proverbs 1:7 says, the fear of Yahweh is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. And you just think about all the very, very intelligent people who are fools because they have no fear of God. All the other wisdom and knowledge that they would be able to bring in, it pales in comparison with what God knows, because God knows everything. He sees all, understands all. And James says that anybody who lacks wisdom should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault. And if he believes and doesn't doubt, God will give him wisdom. And so anybody who wanted to truly be wise would start with fearing God, trusting in Him, and asking. And that is 5 minutes. So, click like if you liked it. Share it if you liked it. If you don't like it, then you can hit the down vote if you want. You don't have to. I am trying to work with people's short attention spans here. I realize most people don't have hour-long, 45-minute long attention spans. So I'm trying to condense this down. It's also a little bit of an exercise in effective communication for me. I'm trying to be a little bit less self-indulgent. I listen to audiobooks, just full disclosure, a little by way of explanation. If you come across some of these hour-long videos, these 22-hour-long videos roughly, that I have done in the past month, and you're just thinking, man, what does this guy think why does he think that anybody's going to spend 22 hours watching through all these videos? Just by way of clarification, I at any given time, I'm probably listening to an audiobook when I'm driving around. It's between 10 and 40 hours. And, that's my attention span. And I think when I start talking, it just naturally goes like that. But anyway, that's another 5 minutes that I'm eating into, a topic for another day. This one, fear. That's all I'm going to say about that for this 5-minute video. And tune in for the next video where I answer, tackle, whatever, Tamara DeBille's Time Management 101 topic. So, thank you. God bless.